All right, hello. This is a continuation of my summary of my analysis of how the USA is starting a new Cold War with Russia. And we're examining the Industrial Revolution to get a better understanding of how warfare became super profitable in and of itself, not just in gaining resources and controlling economies, but in uh, stimulating the economy through military industry in and of itself. Right? Um, and to better understand this, we're breaking up the Industrial Revolution into 8 stages. And I'm sorry, I'm having a little trouble thinking because the CIA fucking whacked my CPAP last night, and I'm not feeling too well. Uh, okay. First stage was machine manufacturing of textiles. Second stage is machine use in agriculture, right? And then machines were applied to printing, giving us mass media and enhancing propaganda used in pumping up patriotism and communist propaganda, both of which became problems in the 20th century, causing wars. Uh, and then the third stage was the application of steam engines for both machine production and also for mechanized transportation. And mechanized transportation was significant because it allowed for the transition from pure mercantilist economics to colonial, upstream integration into the interior of these countries, right? And that led to heated colonial competition between industrial powers, right? And the formation of autarkic trading blocs, which were a big problem in causing conflict, right? And the means of national wealth, the economic engine became industrial growth supported by colonial expansion, right? So that caused heated colonial expansion. And then the fourth stage of the Industrial Revolution was machine application for making weapons, right? It came too late to have an impact upon the Crimean War. However, it had a big impact upon the Civil War. Now, the key effect of the Civil War, all right, was unleashing a Western expansion economics in the U.S. Now, that's the same thing as European colonial expansion economics, all right? But we did it in our own country, and this drove our economy for the last 25 years of the 19th century, uh, 1865 to roughly 1893, right? When the big crisis and economic crash occurred. All right. And now, during this period of Western expansion in Europe, you had what's called the Long Depression, about 1873 to a little after 1910. All right. And this depression created greater urgency for countries to compete with each other and race for colonial expansion. All right. It was a factor that heated up that colonial competition, which led to economic nationalism, which was a key factor that led to war. All right. That quest for economic growth, resources, and outlet markets, right? Expansion of trade, right? In a competitive way, in a competitive, exclusive way. And that led to World War One, right? Now, I gave you a more detailed analysis of the factors that led to World War One. It wasn't so simple as just colonial competition, but that was a key element within it. That was a key pillar in the cause for World War One. Now, World War One had a number of big effects on USA, right? A key one was certain well-positioned Americans made mountains of money off of the war, especially the power elite, the U.S. power elite, which we talked about in the last lecture. And the USA flipped from being a big debtor nation to a big creditor nation. We had been traditionally a debtor nation. Now we came out of the war fat with money, big creditor nation. And then the financial center of the world shifted from London to New York. The British and French had big debt to the U.S., and that got them to force Germany to pay them war reparations. Right? So all that money being paid to Britain and France really was being transferred to the United States. And this became a big factor in the rise of Hitler and the Nazi Party. Right? To the extent it was seen as a cause for German deprivation suffering during the 1930s. Okay. And that being, of course, leading to World War II, because it was Hitler and his Nazis that gave us World War II. All right. And then also we came out fat with cash. So there was a big increase in capital exports, which resulted in a big increase in U.S. neo-colonial control of foreign economies, especially in Latin America and the Caribbean. And then this required need for increased military interventions in accordance with and supported by the Roosevelt corollary to the Monroe Doctrine, right, which said we reserve the right to intervene militarily anywhere damn we please. And this increased the banana wars. And then a key factor is World War I led to the rise of the military-industrial complex. Right? Remember we said that machine manufacturing of arms may allow for the potential rise of the military-industrial complex. Right? So the potential was here. And certainly there were a lot of dirty war profiteers in the Civil War. Right? But the military-industrial complex did not form until World War I. And I showed you its origin formation, right? With key power elite guys on the War Industries Board, key power elite and bonesman guys and being partners in Brown Brothers Harriman Bank, right? And these bonesmen being the key guys in starting our wars. Even World War II, they played a role, supporting Hitler and the Nazi Party, financing, backing him. Cold War, Vietnam War, started Vietnam War, started the Gulf War I, right? And that being the cause for the war, for 9/11 attacks and the war on terror. And then they manipulated the 9/11 attacks by Al Qaeda and twisted that to use that to justify an attack upon Iraq. And that gave us increase in terrorism, including the formation of ISIS. And you know what? I wrote the strategy for the Gulf War, first Gulf War. I wrote the strategy to defeat ISIS, and it worked perfectly. They're doing evil, and I'm trying to fix their crap. All right. So now we're going to look at how they started two of these wars. We'll look at Vietnam and we'll look at the Gulf Invasion War. Right? Remember I said that, McGeorge Bundy, who was the protege of Robert Lovett. Robert Lovett was his mentor. Bonesman, right? And Averell Harriman were key in starting the Vietnam War. George Bundy wrote the 30-day plan. William Bundy, his brother, was blabbing threat signals. How we're going to go to the north. We're going to attack countries to the north. right? You'll see that's part of this plan. All right, so here's McGeorge Bundy. All right, sinister looking little bastard. Um, now, you can trace back the origins of the Vietnam War to a certain point here. May 21st of 1964, there was a National Security Council meeting. All right, attending it was a number of the key, guys, president, vice president, whatever, chairman, joint chiefs of staffs, and you have Assistant National Security Advisor George Bundy made a statement, and he's on record saying this: whoever took minutes, one of the attendees of the meeting took minutes, right? I forget who exactly took the minutes, but he wrote this. He, referring to Bundy, said he believed that a major factor in the 1962 Cuban crisis had been the major movement of U.S. forces in southeast U.S. Moscow knew something was coming. He wanted to know if any such visible signs, threat signals, would accompany the alerting actions of Op Plan 37, or if they would not, was the plan flexible enough to permit them to do so? All right. So I know a lot of people are going to say, what? That doesn't mean anything. Yeah, it does. I know exactly what it means. Right. And I'll try to explain it, make it simple here. Right. So he said a major factor that caused the Cuban Missile Crisis, right? The closest we came to nuclear war, right? A major factor was the movement of U.S. forces in southeast U.S. Now, that wasn't the whole picture there. Really, the whole this was part of a larger picture. The larger picture was USA was practicing war plans to invade Cuba, right? There were two major naval operations in the summer of '62 before, there were preparations before the Cuban Missile Crisis, all right? And one of them involved major movement of U.S. forces in the southeast USA, mobilizing them, putting them onto Navy ships, and then conducting practice landings, amphibious landings on Vasquez Island, just east of Puerto Rico, which was our practice field for invading Cuba. Right? And then another operation involved 400 Navy aircraft. That's 5 aircraft carriers. That's 5 carrier battle groups. I mean, that's like the whole damn East Coast Navy. Second Fleet. Right? All right. So what that was is we're preparing to invade. Now, that doesn't mean it was green-lighted, but we're making preparations. We're practicing invading Cuba. So Moscow knew something was coming. And then they acted defensively. I mean, hell, we already invaded once with Bay of Pigs, right? So now it looks like we're going to invade again. Try to invade again. So Moscow knew something was coming. They installed nuclear missiles in Cuba. It was a defensive move. It was deterrence. That's not how Americans saw it. Americans saw that as, the communists are going to attack us and then invade us. Right? I mean, that's how people see it because they're simple-minded. So now, that caused the Cuban Missile Crisis. A big incident. Almost nuclear war. George Bundy wants to know if we can do it again. Says visible signs. That's threat signals. accompanying the learning actions of Op Plan 37. That's the overt actions against North Vietnam, right? Op Plan 34 Alpha, as you will see shortly, are the covert, secret, black ops no one knows about. Both of them were totally controlled, 100% controlled by USA. For example, Op Plan 34 Alpha had a monthly schedule, right? Controlled by Washington, Pentagon, and LBJ. Or if they would not, was a plan flexible enough? He wants to do these threat signals. So, well, guess what happens? That's May 23rd, on May 21st. On May 23rd, he submits to Johnson the 30-day plan. And they use it. All right? The 30-day plan is a list of threat signals. Starting with D-Day. D-Day turns out to be here. July 31st, August 1st. Right around there. Right? That's D-Day. Now, from D-Day, you go back 30 days. D-1, D-2, D-3, D-4, D-5. And the first thing on the plan was actually mid-June. On the plan, it says mid-June, send a Canadian emissary to North Vietnam, right? And they sent him with threats of an expanding war, right? It was a threat that we're going to expand this war. And as soon as they send it, well, there's actually threat signals here. The first threat signal was Congressman Laird leaking a conversation he had with Secretary of State Rusk, right? How we got plans to invade North Vietnam, right? So right here is they're saying we're going to invade North Vietnam. Then these are big weapons buildups. We're sending big boatloads full of weapons to South Vietnam, building up and to the Southeast Asia area, stockpiling weapons, right? Blabbed about in the press. 4 ships here. So many ships here coming, full of weapons. Opening up air bases. 5 air bases we opened up. And then here, Johnson and everyone else in the administration are blabbing, we're going to invade North Vietnam. We're going to attack North Vietnam. So they're talking invasion here in North Vietnam. Blah, blah, blah. We're going to attack. We're going to attack. We're going to attack. All these threats of attack. More threats, more threats. I forget exactly what these are. Then we start attacking North Vietnam. Commando raids into North Vietnam. Dropping commandos. Sabotaging, blowing up shit. And then you get Colonel Key, the leader of the South Vietnamese Air Force. He's openly bragging about these raids. Saying, yeah, we're doing it. We can do more. Right? And then we're going to start bombing North Vietnam. And he said, you know, Hanoi will certainly be destroyed. That's the capital of North Vietnam. Right? And he said, we're going to come by sea, land, and air. We're coming in. And then you got General Khan. And this is part of the 30-day plan. General Khan makes a statement where he's going to attack North Vietnam. He makes his famous Bac Tien speech, which means to the north. We're going to attack the North Vietnamese. We're going to invade them. And then according to the plan, 6 days later, Johnson backs it up. And sure enough, there was a press conference held by Johnson. And in the press conference, he says, yeah, we fully support what the leader of South Vietnam, General Khan, said. about attacking North Vietnam. So it's threat. Two big batches. And you'll see they did the same two big waves of threats in the buildup for the Iraq invasion war. Right? Now these threats are threats to the U.S. Here they released a cooked up intelligence report. Right? Here's another big threat. The commies are going to attack us. The communists are planning to attack us right before we manufacture an incident. Right? So here, according to Op Plan 34 Alpha, remember I said that 37 is overt, stuff you do in the open. 34 Alpha is secret, black ops, covert. We had 4 attacks. 2 boat attacks on North Vietnamese islands right off their coast, and then 2 air attacks. Right? So here is the dividing line between North Vietnam up here, South Vietnam below. All right? These 2 islands were attacked on July 31st. Okay, Han Nu and Han Mei Island. Both were bombed the shit out of. All right, Han Mei was hit with over 750 cannon rounds. All right, hitting targets. Han Mei has a torpedo boat base. That's critical. Now, right after we attacked them, 8 hours after we attacked them, another U.S. ship is sent right to where we attacked. So we attacked here and here. Then we sent another ship on a totally different mission, a DeSoto mission. And these attacks were scheduled by the U.S. These were scheduled by the U.S. They were South Vietnamese forces, but they were scheduled and planned by the U.S. Then you send a U.S. ship right past where we attacked. I mean, that's setting them up. And as they're going up, you have air attacks. You attack here at Nam Cam, right? And then you attack here on the Laos border, up here somewhere. Laos is up here somewhere. In North Vietnam, near the Laos border. Another attack. So you have 4 attacks as this ship is coming up. Right? Gets past Han Nu. Now, the guy in command, overall command, was Captain Herrick. He was senior to the captain of the boat, who was Commander Ogier. Right? They're intercepting North Vietnamese radio traffic coming out of Han Mei, and they're pissed off. They see this ship as a threat coming up after they got whacked, and they're threatening to attack him with torpedo boats. So he hauls off to the south. He gets the hell out of there. He's going up. He's going from Port Alpha, Bravo, Charlie. He's going to go to Delta, but he's like, oh, shit, no. I'm getting the hell out of here. And he's zigging around here, right, calling in for orders. They say, go back to Han Mei. He's like, what? So instead of going back to Han Mei, he kind of like, skirts around it to Point Delta, right? But then he's ordered back to Han Mei. Well, they just bombed the hell out of this island, right? And he's ordered back to Han Mei. So he's going back to Han Mei, and 3 torpedo boats come hauling out of Han Mei, right? They want to attack. They're going to attack. This is no joke. This is no made up thing. So he hauls off the other direction. He turns around, right? Does a 180, and he's hauling off the other direction. And he takes him under fire with his aft 5-inch guns. This is the Maddox here. His aft gun, boom, boom, boom. Right? He hits one boat. He calls in airstrikes. And The airstrike is led by Commander Stockdale, who later became an admiral and Medal of Honor winner here. You see, this guy was revered at the Naval Academy. I know because I went there. Right? He's like a rock star hero there. Highly respected for his sacrifices in prison camps. What he did to boost morale of his men, right? The sacrifices he's made, right? As they were being tortured like crazy. All right, and so they come in and they hit another boat. They sink a boat, right? Another gets away, and then they haul ass out of there, right? So that's the first incident. Totally set up. It was totally set up. Threat. We're gonna invade you. We're gonna invade you. We start attacking you. We have a big escalation of attacks. Attack. 4 attacks. Then he sent it right past her. What do you think's going to happen? They're being set up. I mean, if you can't see that's a setup, you've got to be retarded. They're being set up to be attacked. And then, 5 hours later, they're sent back in. Right? 2 ships now. Maddox again, accompanied by the Turner Joy. All right? And they're supposed to complete the mission, Point Oscar, November, Mike, whatever, Lima, going back, right? But instead, they're skirting further away. Oh, by the way, this comes from a U.S. Navy book on naval operations in Southeast Asia during the conflict. Right? This is an official U.S. Navy book. These maps. A blue jacket book, just like the one I showed you, Rick Over's book on the USS Maine destruction, published by the U.S. Navy. All right. So they zoomed past Han May, where the attack came out of. And then they came down this way. And right about here, they had another boat attack. Right about when the 2 ships are right about here. You whack them again. Another boat attack. And then they haul around, come around, and they're going to zoom past Han May again. It's like, nah, you can't get me, right? So twice they zoom in. And then they haul ass this way, directly away. And right about here, this is when Captain Herrick believes he has radar contact with 3 hostile patrol boats. These are American boats. These are the boats that we supplied to the South Vietnamese forces that attacked the islands here. But they're roughly like this. Now, these have a freeboard about 6-7 feet, right? They're not coming much out of the water. And at 26,000 yards, you're not seeing these. You're not, even if the seas are perfectly calm, you're not seeing these boats due to the curvature of the earth. From mast height, radar antenna up here, curvature of the earth, straight line, it's going over the tops of these patrol boats. You're not going to get any echo off of them. So they should have known that it's bullshit because they picked them up at 26,000 yards. And it was high sea states. Right, so a storm blew in, waves are high, 5-10 footers, right? You can't see squat in that. You got so much rate of return from the waves, right? Good luck trying to pick out a tiny patrol boat, a torpedo boat. All right, so he hauls ass out of there. He thinks he's got contacts, right? And then here, he believes he's under attack. And the sole indication was you had a sonarman who thought he heard torpedoes in the water, right? Well, what happens in high sea states, you got the ship rocking up and down, bow going up, bow going down. Well, that means the stern is going up, stern is going down. When the stern goes high in the water, right, your propeller's pitch sounds high, like it's a high tone, like a torpedo, right? So your own propeller can sound like torpedo props, right? You got inexperienced young kids on sonar, right? These kids are 19 years old, 18 years old, right? Right? You know, they're all jacked up on adrenaline because of the attack the night before. The real attack occurred here, right? So they call out torpedoes in the water. Herrick, they light up their searchlights, right? They start firing away, banging away with their guns, right? And they call in airstrikes. Commander Stockdale rolls in again with his F-8 Crusaders. Were they F-8 Crusaders? I think they were. Yeah, they were F-8 Crusaders. Anyways, he sees nothing. There's nothing out there. He said this. This is his quote from him. I had the best seat in the house to watch that event, and our destroyers were shooting at phantom targets. There were no PT boats there. There was nothing there but black water and American firepower, right? So the second attack never occurred. The first attack was totally provoked and induced. That was set up. The second attack never occurred, right? All right. And then Johnson says repeat attacks against U.S. ships, blah, 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 right? It's forced me to take action. So we bomb. Let's see here. So here's the second attack, right? And because of that, Johnson bombs North Vietnam, right? And then he sends before Congress a request to sign a congressional resolution, which is a euphemistic declaration of war. It's a sneaky declaration of war. Sold as, it's just going to keep us safe, just in case, it's a deterrent. No, it's a hot little ticket for war. The whole damn Vietnam War was fought based upon that. That was the sole legal basis for the whole damn Vietnam War. The Gulf of Tonkin Resolution. And that's how they got it. The sneaky way they got it. Manufacturing an incident. All right? So, 100% of congressmen fell for it. Dumb shits. Every damn congressman voted for it. All but 2 senators voted for it. One of them who didn't was Senator Morris, right? Bruning and Morris didn't vote for it. Morris said these guys were only 2 guys that didn't have their heads stuck up their asses. Everyone else, a bunch of boneheaded dumb shits with their heads stuck up their asses. Y'all voted for it. Morris said this is a predated declaration of war. And this is going to get U.S. soldiers involved in a long, drawn-out, bloody battle war in Southeast Asia. And sure enough, he was right on both accounts. 2 guys, that's it. You think it's not easy to fool congressmen? They're suckers. And then we get our wars. No, you can't do that. That's conspiracy. Are you kidding? It's easy. LBJ's approval ratings doubled overnight, setting him up, and he rolled into the November election. This is August. He rolled into the November election with high popularity, running on a peace ticket. He's saying, I'm going to keep us out of the war, as they're manufacturing the war. They manufactured this war, and he won the election saying he's going to keep us out of the war. How about that? Well, that's peace persona. I taught you about that. McKinley used that. FDR used that. Johnson used that. You want to start a war, the head of state has to be made to appear before the public he's doing everything for peace. When it's bullshit. It's just political theater. It's a show. All right. So he won the November election running on a peace ticket while they did everything to set up this war. Who was the key architect? McGeorge Bundy wrote the 30-day plan. William Bundy's one of the many who are blabbing, we're going to invade North Vietnam, we're going to invade North Vietnam, we're going to invade North Vietnam. Then you start whacking them. What do you think is going to happen? You got them all jacked up. Then you start whacking them. If you can't see this as a setup, you got some severe mental disabilities here. I know people are going to say, unbelievable, that's not true, it's just coincidence. Oh, God. And slap these people in the head. All right, so here is the second war I want to cover. You know how the first Gulf War gave us the 9/11 attacks? That motivated bin Laden, all right? And then once the 9/11 attacks occurred, then Bush used the one-year anniversary of 9/11 attacks to launch a plan to flip the Al-Qaeda attack onto Iraq. It was a total bait and switch. And the American public fell for it. All right? I mean, you got to wonder, who's stupid enough to fall for this? I don't know. 70% of the American public, hardcore, was in favor of invading Iraq. 70%. That's pretty much everyone, because, you know, there's about a good 25% who are dead against any damn war. Anyways. All right, so here's what happened. And again, you know what? In all this, I'm just giving you a brief summary. I taught this in far greater detail. And my research was far greater than what I taught. You can't teach everything. There's not enough time in a 2-3 hour lesson. All right? So this is just a brief summary. All right. So here's the setup. What's key is the vote for the resolution here. All right? And the Bush administration pushed that to be right before the congressional recess. Before Congress let out, which is right before the November election. They let out with only 3 weeks before the November election. This was the arm twisting. This was the leverage. Right? This is the force you get to get them to vote for it. All right. All right. So here's the sequence of events. Whenever you see P, that's planning to use the attack by Al-Qaeda to attack Iraq, who had nothing to do with 9/11. Whenever you see F, that stands for jacking up fear. Big fear campaign. Big blitzkrieg of fear. You know, a full-on blitz. Fear, fear, fear. Americans are jammed with fear statements every day. Iraq's going to get a nuclear weapon. It's going to be 1,000,000 times worse than 9/11. All right, 9/11 is going to be a cakewalk compared to this. There's going to be a smoking gun for a mushroom cloud for a smoking gun. You know, they're all saying that. And you know what? From what I read, they use focus groups. What message is going to have greatest impact on the average idiot American's mind? And they found that was effective. The image of a mushroom cloud as a smoking gun. Right? Other things, all dots connected. Bullshit, dots connected. They had nothing. They made this shit all up. Weapons of mass destruction. They manufactured so much false evidence. It's crazy. R stands for the push to get a resolution. So you get fear, 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 fear. Right? And then you say, oh, what's going to keep us safe is this resolution. This is what's going to save us. And then you put the vote for it right here. Right? So here's a sequence of events. This is 9/11 of 2001. This is when Bin Laden and Al Qaeda attacked us. Okay? That day, according to Richard Clarke, he was an anti-terror czar under Clinton and Bush. He's in the White House on 9/11. He said he got a sharp physical pain when he realized that Rumsfeld and Wolfowitz are making a big effort to take this national tragedy and use it to further their agenda against Iraq. Right? We knew it's Al Qaeda. And he wants to attack Iraq. And you know what he said about this? He said for us to be attacked by Al Qaeda on 9/11 and then go invade Iraq, you know, is like the Japanese bombing us on Pearl Harbor and we go invade Mexico. Like, what the hell? Who's stupid enough to buy that? All of America? You know, no one's going to admit to it, but Americans were damn stupid. So once you get that resolution, that's all you need for a war. You don't need a declaration of war by Congress. Total legal basis for war. Authorizing the president to use military force. That's giving legislative, congressional authorization for war to the president. It was their hot little ticket to war. As soon as they got that and their hot little, fat little grubby fingers, they had their war. All right. So now, next planning here is four-star General Wesley Clark, no relation, name spelled different. He was Supreme Commander of NATO. He goes back to the Pentagon after 9/11 to see what's going on, right? He runs into a general who used to be one of his subordinates in his staff, right? And the general tells him, hey, sir, I want to tell you that we're planning on attacking Iraq. And then General Clark here says, why? Did they get some evidence that Iraq did this? And the general says, no, right? And then Wesley Clark says, well, why? And the general says, we don't know. That's 11 days after 9/11. We got plans now. We're going to attack Iraq. Long before WMD came up. And then General Clark goes back 6 weeks later after this. Runs into the same general. Says, hey, we still got to attack Iraq? And the general says, oh, sir, it's far worse than that. Right? He reaches forward, grabs a memo off his desk, and says, here, he goes, we got, this comes straight from the Secretary of Defense. We got plans of overthrowing the governments of 7 nations in the Middle East in 5 years, right? So now we got plans of not just Iraq, is Iraq, Iran, Sudan, Libya, Somalia, Lebanon, and one other country. I can't remember. And we're going to overthrow a bunch of countries. And sure enough, we did Iraq, right? We pushed hard to do Iran in 2012. We did Libya. When was Libya? 2010, 2011? All right. And then, so here's some initial threat signals. Threat. First one was by freaking Cheney. Cheney made the first. Iraq's going to have weapons of mass destruction. They're going to whack us with it. All right. So then they bragged about the plan. So here's the plan. They bragged about it right here. On September 7th, Bush administration officials said, we're using a, quote, meticulously planned strategy to persuade the public, the Congress, and the allies of the need to confront the threat from Saddam Hussein. In the end, it will be difficult for someone to vote against it. And he was referring to the Iraq War Resolution. The war resolution right here. Authorizing Bush to use military force. Right? So the plan was to use the 1-year anniversary. Why? Because everyone knows 9/11, right? And not the term 9/11, those numbers evoke fear, terror, especially only 1 year later, right? Americans were filled with fear, hysteria. You would not believe how irrational people were. I was in California, and people thought they're going to attack them next. Right? Like, what? Why would they attack here? Right? All 3 attempted attacks were key symbolic targets. Pentagon, military power. Twin Towers, economic power. Plus, there's some intelligence stuff in here, too. Probably the Capitol, political power. They're planning on attacking the key symbols of U.S. power. Why would they attack California? Are you kidding me? I was teaching in the school in California. What would it? These kids are like worried they're going to attack the school. What the hell? All right. So on 9/11. Oh, by the way, here was the first big indication to me that a game was going on. On 9/9, I read it in the Sacramento Bee newspaper that it's intelligence report released, made public, and it states Iraq can have a nuclear weapon in a matter of months. Bullshit! They didn't have squat for nuclear weapons program. Oh, yeah, you make a... You know, remember I said they released the Jordan, a modified version of the Jordan report here, right? Communist aggression. Communists are going to attack, right? So I knew when they released these intelligence reports, right? It's not to inform the public. It's not to educate the public. It's to manipulate the public, right? They're not doing this for your benefit. They're doing this to play you, right? So as soon as I read that, I knew something was in play. I knew something before the big wave. I knew something was in play, right? Why? Because I'm like the only one in the country who does their homework. and really analyzes it and understands how these things are done. Everyone else is either too lazy or too stupid. Or both. So I knew right away, okay, they're cooking up something. And sure enough, day after day, big wave threats. Oh, it's going to be a nuclear attack. Oh, it's going to be a chemical attack. Oh, it's going to be a biological attack. Oh, in 45 minutes he can launch a biological attack. With what? What biological weapons? What missiles? We force them to get rid of their Scuds. And Scuds have what? Scuds have a range of like 200 miles, 300 miles? What are you hitting with that? Maybe you can hit Israel. Maybe Saudi Arabia. Right? You're not hitting USA. "45 minutes." That was one of the intel reports. They can hit us in 45 minutes with a biological weapon. Bullshit. Big scare tactics. So Bush commemorates 9/11 anniversary. The next day he goes before the entire fully assembled General Assembly and states the new terrorist threat is bin Laden. Bait and switch. Flipped it on Iraq. All this fear and terror, right, horror reactivated on 9/11. Caused by Al-Qaeda's attack. Now, unjustly flipped on Iraq. And then every day after that, it's fear, fear, fear. Right? You know, there's terrorists living among us still. Right? And, you know, time is running short. Before we know it, it's going to be nuclear blackmail. He's going to get a nuclear weapon. And then it's too late for us. Right? He's going to use it against us or our allies. Right? They're training all these bullshit lies they passed. All the bullshit they had on yellow cake, right? Aluminum tubes, mobile biological, all the bullshit lies. Shit they made up. And you know what? They blame bad intelligence. They made up their own intelligence. The Bush administration made its own little intelligence agency in the basement of the Pentagon, and there were only a couple key. One of them was this guy named Chalabi. Key witness was Chalabi, main source of their information. He's just making up shit. Chalabi, convicted on bank fraud, wants to be president of Iraq. Leader of, what was he, the Iraq National Congress or something like that? It was the opposition party to the Ba'ath Party. In exile. He wants to be president. German intelligence said he's a known fabricator. That's the word they used. A known fabricator. A known liar. He's their main source of intel. They're just making up shit. Fear, fear, fear every damn day. Big blitz. And then you make this toxic wave of fear. This toxic cloud of fear. You manufacture a big wave, big dumbass wave. Get all the moron masses to fall for it. Right? Get them all jacked up on fear. And then you say, hey, this is what's going to save us. We need this. Right? Then you put the vote for this. You force the vote before Congress leaves session to go back to their home constituent states and campaign for the last 3 weeks, the most critical period before the election. You put the vote here. Now, if you vote against it here, when these guys go back to their home states, they're dead meat. You just committed political suicide. Your opponent can burn you at the stake, calling you anti-patriotic. You're a damn communist liberal. You're a socialist. You're a terrorist lover. You're a left-wing liberal, save the gay whales, you know, spotted owls and whatever, you know. You don't care about the American public. You don't care about their safety. You want to protect and coddle terrorists. You're dead. You vote against this. And as soon as they get this resolution, they say, oh, it's not a war resolution. It's just a resolution authorizing the president to use military force. Well, what kind of idiot doesn't know that means war? You got to be retarded. It's simple language. So now they got their hot little ticket to war. The leverage was the November election, and they set it all up with big fear campaign, right? And what they said? In the end, it will be difficult for someone to vote against it. And you know what? This is what London papers are saying. Independent London paper saying, big campaign for war is turning dovish Democrats into hawks. And sure enough, idiots like Hillary voted for that damn war resolution. Dumbass. How does anyone fall for that? Oh, it's not a war resolution. It's a resolution to authorize use of military force. What do you think a war is? What planet are you living on? How do you not know that use of military force is what the essence of war? All right, so I taught this in great detail. I'm not going to teach all the detail again. I'm just going to give you a sample of shit to show you how set up this was, right? How planned this was. All right, this was not random. They said they had a plan. They bragged about their plan. So here's fear-mongering. Some of the things that were done. I'm not talking about all the bullshit statements on weapons of mass destruction, ticking time bomb, clock is running down, time's running out, it's going to be too late. You know, they used all that typical fear crap, right? But here, timed arrests. The first wave came centered around 9/11. Remember, I showed you here, there were two waves of fear campaign. Threat, 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 threat. We're going to invade you. We're going to invade you. Threat, threat, threat. We're going to invade you. We're going to invade you. We're going to invade you. All right? Two big waves. They did the same thing here. First big wave, second big wave. Time with 9/11, time right before the vote for the resolution. Right? So on August 28th, the FBI raided and arrested 5 Al-Qaeda operatives in Detroit. Right there, 28. Right after the 26 here. Same exact day, they raided a cell in Seattle. Oh, what a coincidence. Same day. Hits the papers. Oh, right? Multiple terrorist cells spread throughout the country. Arrested. Then on 9/11. Gee, what a coincidence on 9/11. Right? Oh, by the way, they knew these guys. For example, these guys in Buffalo, they knew these guys for since June of 2001. That's 4 or 5 months before 9/11. Right? So by the time they arrested him here, They've known these guys for 18 months. You sat on these guys for 18 months after 9/11, a year after 9/11. Gee, you think that's not grandstanding, arresting them on 9/11? They arrest a planner, Ramzi bin al Shib, whatever. Arrested on that. Gee, same day, arrested Buffalo 6 on 9/11. And you know what? Governor was his name, Pataki. What an idiot. You know, what a simpleton. He said, "Oh, see, this proves that the terrorist threat is real." Well, you dumbass. That's why they arrested these guys. That's why they timed these arrests. These arrests are timed to jack everyone up. Now, second wave, right before the vote. You want to get them all jacked up on fear, right? See, look at the big wave of fear. This was the big wave campaign right before the vote. Fear, 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 fear. Resolution, keep us safe. Oh, boom, big fear, fear, fear. Maximum fear effort right here, right before the vote. When I taught this, I taught every single one of these. What they passed. All the bullshit they passed. 10-4. John Lynn Walker is convicted. He's a American Al-Qaeda idiot. He's sentenced and convicted. 20 years. Same day. Shoe bomber pleads guilty. Next day, terrorist cell in Portland arrested. Right? Same day, Detroit, another Detroit cell arrested. Oh, what a coincidence! Same day. They had 18 months to arrest these guys. They could have spaced them out anywhere in a year and a half. Oh, on the same day, same day, same day. What a coincidence. Gee. It's just random luck chance. My ass. Next day, October 6th, FBI leaks report they're building a book on hundreds of Al-Qaeda trained Muslim men living in the USA. Scary stuff. Now they're jacking them more. It's not just a terrorist cell. It's hundreds of these guys out there living among us. Jacking up fear. Now, I know what the idiots are going to say. Conspiracy theory, conspiracy theory. You can't do that. I'm not that smart. No, you can't time these arrests all the same day. Man, are you kidding me? All this stuff is terrorism, which means it's all federal, which means it's all FBI, which means it's all just one agency. So what does it take? One damn phone call. Make one damn call. You can't make a phone call. No one's smart enough to dial a phone. I hate these conspiracy theories, assholes. Some dumb shits. They can't even define conspiracy theory in their head. How hard is that? Oh, people can't make phone calls. That's impossible. Now, if you can't see this is time, that's total pattern. And look at all Bush's speeches. Look at his wave of speeches pumping up weapons of mass destruction, pumping up the fear. 9/11, 9/12, 9/14, 9/21, 9/26, 9/27, 9/28, 10/5, 10/7. This was his big one. I think this was his big national aired, and then you get the vote on the 10th. Big build up before the vote. Big build up before the vote here. Vote on the 10th. And then you get time release. Look at all the intelligence reports. This is insane. This is the first one. This is the one that raised my radar. As soon as this went up, I knew that something was in play. I knew that they had a scheme going on. You know what? I'm willing to bet I'm the only one in America. Only one person in America that knew that they're planning a war right here. I remember exactly where I was when I read this. I was in McDonald's in Rockland, California, reading the Sacramento Bee when I read this. I remember exactly where I was. I can almost remember the restaurant layout in my mind. All right. 912. Another 912. Another intelligence. 920. Right. 925. 10-1. 10-5. 10-6. What is 10-5? Bullshit CIA intelligence report on Iraq's WMD program. 10-6. FBI released a report on the hundreds of Al Qaeda awaiting instructions to attack. Right? They said they had a plan. So, now, in 2004, the UN made its final report after a year of desperately searching for WMD. Right? UN made its report. No WMD since 1991. Right? 1991 was the end of the Gulf War, when Iraq was forced to eliminate its WMD, or they sell no oil, which is the whole damn economy. I mean, like, pretty much all their economy is oil. Like 60% of their economy is oil. You take away oil, you take away their economy. And so let me tell you about WMD, how bullshit USA is. This comes from Scott Ritter, his book Iraq Confidential. Scott Ritter was the lead United Nations weapons inspector on the ground searching for WMD inside Iraq. Right? And he served in Iraq as a weapons inspector. By the way, Scott Ritter is a super patriotic guy, right-wing Republican, Marine Corps major at that time. And he said in his book, the USA CIA was not interested in fighting WMD. They only wanted Congress and the American public to believe that Saddam was lying and was concealing WMD because they could use that either to get a coup to overthrow Saddam or to start a war. Well, he didn't say that. Actually, he didn't say that. He said they could use it. Right? He didn't specify for what. Right? I don't want to put words in his mouth. But he said they had no interest in fighting WMD. They only wanted to maintain the public perception that Saddam was lying and they're concealing, because they could use that. Scott Ritter further said that not only did they have no interest, but they sabotaged my missions. All right? They sabotaged U-2 flights. I'm not going to go into details of this again. They gave no help on signal intelligence. They gave him joke for help. They sabotaged the British signal intelligence unit. They sabotaged Israeli help to decrypt They're not giving any help decrypting, code breaking, and they sabotage Israeli assistance. They undermined his efforts. They destroyed his efforts. Ritter said the CIA played all sorts of dirty games with WMD inspections, which risked discrediting the inspection, getting the WMD inspectors kicked out, or to get the Iraqis to resist cooperation. And in either case, the U.S. will say, "Hey, that's proof Saddam he's hiding." If the Iraqis kicked out the inspectors, the USA and CIA would scream, "That's proof he's hiding. He's got him." Right? So things like this. They used inspections to manufacture bombing of Iraq on a Muslim holiday. You think that's not going to get them to kick out these inspectors? You're playing dirty games with these inspections to bomb them on their Muslim holiday. You play dirty games with these inspections to launch a coup to overthrow Saddam. Using these inspections to get assassination attempts on Saddam. And that reminds me of, they demanded in the lead up to the Gulf Iraq invasion war, the Bush administration first rejected inspections. Then they demanded, "Oh, you inspect all the palaces." Well, that was part of the assassination program with inspections. Back in 91 to 98. Yeah, I'm not going to explain all that in detail again. But they're doing a lot of dirty shit with this. And they're not trying to find WMD. Don't give me this, we're trying to find WMD. Bullshit. All right, so here's a cookbook example how you start a war. You send threat signals to both sides, your side and the other side, all right? Get both sides jacked up in fear. Get both sides expecting an attack. Get them all emotional. Get them all full of fear, right? And so you set up multiple cognitive frameworks. Both of them expect to be attacked by the other side. So then you manufacture an incident. And when the incident occurs, because they're all prepared to expect an attack, they see the other side as being responsible. So like in the Gulf of Tonkin, when you get an incident here, right, you get the North Vietnamese saying, "See, we knew you were going to attack us because you got them all pumped up to expect an attack. And then we attacked them." But for the Americans, you pump up the Americans. They're going to attack us. Communists are going to attack us. Communists are going to attack. Then when an attack occurs, "See, we knew they're going to attack us." Then you get a war. Both sides are pointing the finger at each other. The publics, the congressmen, the idiots. That's a multiple cognitive framework game. I know I'm not doing a good job teaching it here, but I've taught it better before. Use fear-mongering to manufacture an artificial false sense of threat, urgency, time with the 9/11 anniversary, right? With a big wave, use a big wave, use a blitz. Blitz campaign, right? Create an incident that is perceived in diametrically opposite ways by the conflicting sides. And that's the essence of a multiple cognitive framework game. Or create a false sense of crisis or urgency that people demand action for protection. Right? Do something to protect us. Go invade Iraq. Yeah. Idiots. Conduct a bait and switch. Al-Qaeda on Iraq. Get Congress to sign off a congressional resolution authorizing the use of military force. Write it euphemistically so it sounds not threatening and defensive. Oh, this is just to keep us safe. Perhaps create political pressure as leverage, like scheduling the vote right before general elections. Right? Use a defensive resolution to start a war. All right. Now, once the war is going and U.S. boys are in harm's way with their lives at risk, there is no way Congress is not going to sign off on military appropriation bills, right? They just rescinded their power of the purse string. With U.S. boys fighting, there's no way they're going to say, we're not going to sign this. What that means is Congress has further relinquished war powers to the president. They no longer have power of the purse. And then you exacerbate the conflict. You fight the war like Vietnam. You fight the war like Rumsfeld Cheney in Iraq. You fuck it all up. You make a mess of it. You screw it up as much as possible. You drag out that war. De-Ba'athification. Total elimination of the army. You sanction support Shia militia. Put in charge Colonel Steele, who ran mobile training teams teaching U.S. counterinsurgency methods during Operation Condor and all that. Latin America, El Salvador, kidnap, torture, right? Murder, body mutilation, drilling holes in body. They did that stuff in Operation Condor. Oh, and sure enough, they're doing that in Iraq. Shia militia doing that. All the humiliation, all the torture. Lightfoot tactics. How stupid that was. Retard stuff. Set up to fail. Bush administration policy on torture. Nothing's torture unless they die or the organs fail. Oh, look at me. My organs are all messed up. Well, they haven't failed yet, so it's not torture yet. They tortured me for going on 15 years, but it's not torture yet because my organs haven't failed yet. My liver is fucked up right now. But, oh, it's not torture. Right. And then this increases terrorism. This increases radicalization. You got all these Muslims flocking to Iraq to fight alongside Al-Qaeda now. You made Al-Qaeda in Iraq. They were virtually non-existent prior to we invaded. Less than 200 in UN, U.S. protected Kurdish Iraq in the north. No-fly zone protected. Right? Saddam hunting down Al-Qaeda. You unleash sectarian civil war. You destabilize the whole damn region. Especially with a Shia bloc in the north, Sunnis to the south. Stupid way of fighting the war fuels more conflict, spreads it to the region. All this was predictable. You know what? I predicted all of it. When I wrote the strategy for the first Gulf War, I predicted all of this. That was part of my strategy. I predicted all this crap is going to happen. I predicted the Sunni-Shia conflict. I predicted the destabilization of the Middle East. All this crap I predicted. And they make more war. Now, let's go back to the military-industrial complex. Military, government, military industry. I said, you don't have to be in control of the military, right? But it's helped to control intelligence agencies. have your foot in the door at the FBI, make one phone call. You got to control big money makers, log cap, private military security contractors, reconstruction contracts, resource control, Halliburton, KBR, Bechtel here, monopolize reconstruction, resource control, Halliburton, contract for Iraqi oil reconstruction, all log cap, Halliburton. Big investors in military industry. The key is controlling the government. This is what you want to absolutely control. The presidency, federal government, both elected officials and career bureaucrats. The Rumsfeld, the Cheneys, the Wolfowitz. The key is to gain control of government, because then you control policy, right? You push resolutions in front of Congress. You start wars. You control the contracts. Who gets the contracts? Then you control the flow of collective resources. That's big money. That's national wealth. That makes General Motors or Tesla look puny. Right? So those are just a couple examples of the wars that these guys start. Now, I know you're not going to keep this all in your head. It's going to be all blur, right? So there's going to be attack in one day, right? It's all bullshit. When no one remembers anything, they're going to attack. So, who started all these wars? Who started it? Bonesmen with tricky manipulations. I just taught you some real nuts and bolts. Now, it's just a summary of how they started these wars. I can't teach you all the details over and over again. And historically, has USA started and fought a lot of wars? Hell yeah! We're the biggest warmonger nation in recent history. Massive warmonger nation. 2.77 wars every year of our existence we fight. Is USA a warmonger nation? Hell yeah. Biggest out there. But not in the minds of Americans. Keep that in mind the next time your id gets the urge to wave the flag, the stupid flag, and shout, USA, 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 USA. You know, I hate such people. Such people are low. They're low lives. They're low on the scale of moral development. They're 3 to 7-year-olds. Honestly, preconditional states, 3 to 7-year-olds. This is no joke. And a lot of them are Christians, which makes me sick. And I'm sure it makes God sick as well. You know, he sent the flood when he got sick of people. Right? You know, I mean, God is like infinite love, but you know, I'm sure he gets tired of people. Right? You know what it is for them? It's not about morality. It's not about good versus evil. It's not about right versus wrong. It's not about godliness. It's me feel good. Me no feel bad. Me feel good. Me no feel bad. Me. 3 to 7-year-old stage. That's where people are at. They don't get beyond that. That determines your beliefs. Me feel good. USA, USA. Me wave flag. Because me feel good. Moral value principles? Bullshit. This is what's important. And they got none of this. Although they say they will. But it's bullshit. I'll fight and sacrifice for this. They won't do shit for this. It's me. Me me feel good. Low life people. Worthless people. That's what matters to people. You know? I mean, honestly, to me, people are sickening. This makes up the majority of Americans. Low level people. All right. I'm going to hold off on. So, again, that's a power lead. That's two of the wars: Vietnam War, Iraq, Gulf. But it's all these damn wars, including ISIS. All right. Now, I'm sorry if I did a poor job, but the CIA have been whacking my CPAP machine, suffocating me so I can't sleep, and I'm feeling sick. So I was kind of ragged. All right. I'm sorry about that.